It's Dan Bowler, Left Freedom Ring. I just ran the Rocky Steps, and you're watching Left Freedom Ring. Welcome to Left Freedom Ring. I hope everybody's having a great week out there. Good luck to the New England Patriots tonight, as it is the NFL draft. And, you know, with our new coach, Gerard Mayo, I don't even know who's making the pick. I don't know who's making the pick for the Patriots. I don't know if it's committee or whatever. Just please make the right one. That's all we're asking for. But my guest this week, Nick Schibly. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, pleasure to have you on. And I got the last name right?
Yeah, Schibly.
Okay.
It gets pronounced many different ways, and spelled, but.
No, totally understandable. Obviously, Bollier, I don't think anybody ever knows how to say it, you know.
At first, I didn't.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, that's how you say that. That's French, right?
It's a French last name, and I've heard people say, well, you got to Americanize it. And, you know, it's one of those things where, that's how my grandma, who wasn't even French, she married my grandfather and took the last name, but she always made sure we said it that way, so trying to keep the tradition.
What was she? Do you remember her?
Oh, she was Italian. Okay. Fusilla was her maiden name.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. My guess is she took French classes or something. I don't know. You know. But let's get to know you a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Litchfield, New Hampshire. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, Litchfield, so I got to ask this. Campbell High School. Mm-hmm. Did you go to Campbell? Was it there yet?
Yeah, it was there. Yeah, so I'm glad that it was, because then you're looking at private school or Alvern.
Oh, okay, so it was Alvern. Okay.
I think there was one other school that you could go to, or maybe even a couple, but I'm not sure. But I know Alvern was one that you went to before Campbell. Okay.
Because I remember, Campbell wasn't, I don't believe, what year, do you know what year that school first came? Was it 06?
I want to say it was 10 years, maybe just shy of 10 years before I went there.
Okay.
I want to say it was before 06.
Okay.
Probably early 2000s, but don't quote me on that one.
Yeah, because I when I was in high school, don't remember that being a school. And then when I was coaching wrestling at a middle school level, we'd have to go to Campbell for tournaments or wherever. And I'd be like, I don't remember this existing.
Yeah.
And it looked fairly new at the time. What year did you graduate?
09.
09? Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Yep. And still reside there, kind of a big Litchfield guy?
Yep. Yeah, I've lived in other places, but I always come back, so.
Okay. Yeah. Mel's Tee Off, is that a hangout?
Yeah, well, yeah, it used to be.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore. I mean, don't really see kids out and about as much anymore, I feel like.
Okay.
But I think that's in general, but who knows?
Yeah.
With the advent of the internet.
Yeah.
People you don't see outside as much.
I used to love Mel's. I loved the batting cages. I loved. I think I've never been a big golfer, but I love the driving range and just crushing softballs, golf balls.
Yeah. Yeah, they used to have that driving range there.
Is that gone?
It's gone. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they have the driving range in Hidden Creek.
Okay.
So that's the go-to. And people like that one because it's more of a natural driving range. Mm-hmm. So you have to have your tees and whatnot, and you go pick a section and natural grass and
more for the experienced golfer.
Yep.
Kind of vibe.
Yep. They have the back in the day the rubber little
implanted tee.
Yeah. And then those metal things that you just nonstop hear balls pinging off of them. Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
That's gone. I mean, a lot of businesses have gone in and out of that area. Because I remember when Greenfield was in there. There's a restaurant. and then Woodman's, and now it's like a Mexican restaurant. It's in there. And then where the Laserplex is now, that building off to the side, that was the original Shorty's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was in Litchfield.
I've always, my thing is I have lived in southern New Hampshire my whole life. And I always think that Litchfield's just one road, but it's not. It's much bigger than that. I just know it's like a
you could go
connector.
from one side to the other.
Okay. On one road?
Yeah, on one road, Albuquerque. Or even like 3A for that matter. There's like 2 roads that kind of go span all the way down.
All right, so it's not just me. I was always like, I'm in Litchfield or I'm in Hudson. Oh, I'm in Londonderry? Or Derry or whatever it is. It happens very quick.
You could blink a couple times and you'd be in Hudson or Manchester.
Yeah.
So.
Now, what's 3 things everybody should know about you?
I would say I'm a very simplistic person. I'd say I'm like a typical like New Englander, simple. It's hard to put a term on that, but I feel like if you know, you know. But I'd say one of the other things is I enjoy the lake up in the summer. So that's like, I look forward to it all year, going up to Lake Winnipesaukee.
Okay.
Going out on the lake, so really enjoy that. I'd say, I guess like a recent thing is like, I go on these like kicks of different things that I just like go down rabbit holes. I'm sure a lot of people do that. But my recent thing is like urban exploring.
Okay.
Not in the physical sense, because I mean, I don't have enough time to do all that, because there's a community of like urban explorers that like dedicate everything to urban exploring. They have like YouTube videos and communities. But yeah, just like researching different areas, and it's just kind of like interesting, the urban decay across like the United States, and that kind of comes with like traveling. Mm-hmm. I just kind of enjoy like learning about a place, its history, why it's that way, whether it's a really nice area or like a really rundown area, and at what time it was like very prosperous, at what time it wasn't, like who are some of like the famous people that once like lived there, famous architects that architected buildings that might be decaying, things like that. So that's like my new kick.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places that obviously evolve over the years. Might have been booming and now not so much, or weren't and now are. And I know you've seen quite a bit of the United States at this point.
Yep.
So, and we're going to talk about that because that's a fascinating thing too. So.
Yep.
Definitely love the lake myself. I need to go to the lake more, I think.
Are you like lake or ocean?
I mean, I wouldn't, probably more ocean, but I love the lakes region. I don't hang out there enough.
Yeah, it's great.
I went to Plymouth State, so that was always on the way.
Oh, perfect.
And
you're right there.
And Meredith is beautiful. Yeah. It's a lot. Like this, like New Hampshire, to me, now I've been called out for this, and that's totally fine. I can't say it's the best place to live because I haven't lived anywhere else. That's fine. Yeah. But it fits me. And I couldn't imagine being anywhere else with everything that we have.
I'd say you're pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Like, I've been a lot of places, and this place is great for so many different reasons. Could spend hours talking about like why.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the lakes region is great. They have like Winnipesaukee, Newfound, Squam, and then like the towns around like Winnipesaukee, each have their own character, and I find that to be like really cool because they all have their own town docks.
Yeah.
So you take the boat out. Okay, let's go to like Meredith. You boat over to Meredith, and they have like a cool ice cream shop, like a cool place to eat with a deck that's like looking out onto the water. Then they have like a little old school downtown. They have a really cool winery, Hermit Winery downtown. So they have like stuff there. And then like Wolfboro is probably like the nicest, most wealthy places to go, like on the lake. And that town's really cool. But yeah, Laconia, you have like Weirs Beach.
Yep.
So that's like Bike Week goes through there.
And know when Bike Week is.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
as one thing to point out is you have the Lakes region there, which I used to be. I mean, I hiked all the 4,000 footers. I was addicted, right?
That's cool.
And there was one time I was like, oh, I'm really hungry. I want to stop somewhere. And I pulled off and got off an exit near Laconia, right? During Bike Week. I forgot.
Yeah. And
I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
Like it was a nightmare.
It can get rough.
Yeah.
What's good about it is like when you go up there during Bike Week and you're kind of away from like that scene, if you go out on the water, there's not that many people out on the water.
Okay.
So it's like good for that. If you have like a place to go and you can avoid the traffic, get out on the water, because the boat traffic can get
Oh, is that just as bad, huh?
pretty rough on certain weekends on Winnipesaukee.
I can imagine.
You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, that to me, like the lakes and the mountains going up that way is just, that I never want to leave. I don't want to be far away from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been to Southern New Hampshire, you too, but like we appreciate, like, because a lot of people call us like, well, you're just Massachusetts light.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I know, but no, my heart's
Yeah.
to the state, to New
Yeah.
Hampshire, you know.
Yeah.
Got to ask this. This is the money question we ask everybody.
Yep.
Sticking with the theme of the show, love to say that.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to be an American?
That answer can get like really complicated really fast. For me.
Absolutely. The more complicated, the better.
Because like I mean, we could go off of the fact that like for me, it's just as simple as like freedom and like limited restriction, like to put it in like a sentence. And the more you just kind of let people live in a country or a place, I think the better. And obviously there's issues with like having no rules or no laws. So it's like, obviously you have to have like that governance. But overall, I think the reason why throughout like the decades in America we've thrived is because of the framework of the country with the Constitution. And like it's as simple as that. We have like a good foundation to go off of, and if everyone can kind of come to this country and live the way that they want to live within reason, obviously, then that makes for like a great place. And I think like moving forward, it would be cool to just see more, because the way like I think of like America is you helping out your neighbor in like micro communities of people, helping each other out and doing what's best for themselves and the country, thinking about more than just
You.
yeah, which I could see maybe being a problem, like as we're more isolated than we have been in the past. So I think like more human connection and building out those communities where neighbors can build a community, talk with one another, help each other out. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's so many different layers to it, and I think, I don't think everybody starts on the same base, right? I do agree with that, but there are the opportunities to do what you want to do.
yeah,
You know, you hear a lot of this, though. I mean, what do you think of this? A lot of people believe that the American dream, whatever that is dead. Do you think that's true?
It doesn't have to be, but
Or what is the American dream?
At the rate that we're going,
Yeah.
I can see the point that they're making.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of this country, I think, is like limited government intervention and less corporate between those like big giants. Like I see America as more like mom and pop businesses and supporting like one another versus, you know, big corporations, and looking at it like, hey, we don't need all this like government assistance per se. Like we as Americans can come together and do things ourselves and help each other out and provide. So that's kind of how I see it. But from like what they're saying is accurate in a way, because I feel like we're going away from like kind of what I described.
No, I can get down with that. You know, because I kind of always look at it as like, you know, we grew up on the American dream is you go to college, you buy a house, you get married, you have the kids, you have the white picket fence. I don't think it has to be that, though.
Yeah.
I think like at the end of the day, the American dream is waking up every morning and enjoying your life.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think life's ever going to be perfect. I don't think anywhere is perfect, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's how you know, because I always looked at that as a kid. And then I kind of, as I've grown up, and I hear these things because you got like our generation blaming the boomers and all this other stuff. And I go, well, at the end of the day, like, if you want to be better, I know there's some things, but like, what can you do with the life that you have to enjoy it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think like the big thing is not pinning against one another.
Yes.
And just saying like, okay, like how can like the millennials or the Gen Zs or like whatever help the boomer generation, and how can the boomers help the millennials? Like what are some takeaways? Like what are some pros out of each group that we can like take away? And maybe the cons, like we can talk about, and we can get rid of some of like the negative aspects that are brought in from certain generations into society.
And also that, like, yeah, finger pointing isn't going to get you anywhere. It's like, what's done is done. Like, how are we going to move forward? And I do feel like there's a lot of people that are just like, I'm not living the life because, and there might be even some truth to that. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to accept the situation.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think you just have to understand each other more. Like you have to ask more questions and kind of ask, why do you think that way? Why do you feel that way? Like get kind of a background. And the other thing is like some people have access to like more education than others and different experiences. So I think like what makes like the country divided in that way right now is just like the lack of understanding.
Yeah.
And it grows when you're on the internet making a comment.
It's a waste of time.
Because
it's a waste of time.
Because it doesn't, to like, you would have to, like, how many comments back and forth would you have to make to get to an understanding versus like a conversation? You could probably have like a 2-minute conversation and clear it up like face to face versus comments like can go back and forth for days probably, and you still don't have that core understanding of where each other are coming from. Like,
and there's some people that just thrive on that. I know they call them trolls, but I had a guy that I went to high school with who was just going back and forth. And I said, dude, you're typing in paragraphs. So I remember I said to him, I said, I got a show. You want to talk about it? Or in person. He didn't want to do that. And then he kept doing that stuff. Then he started going after people that were, you know, some of my coworkers, family and stuff. And I said, I'm just going to block this guy.
Yeah.
because he's not really trying to have a conversation.
Yep.
And sometimes I if I'm gonna troll somebody, I want them to be in on it. Like it's a joke. Like we should be laughing together.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And there's some trolls out there. That's not the point of it. I gotta say, you kind of because I went searching through your Facebook, and that thing is bone dry. There wasn't much to find on there.
Yeah, I've kind of gotten off of
Yeah.
social. Yeah, I don't post very much.
Yeah, there was like
Yeah.
I was like, I need a picture here, Nick. I don't know this. I was like, the most recent was like 2015. I go, that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I think this is the best picture for the show. I'm not really sure. I guess I could have taken any picture of me traveling somewhere or something.
You should.
Nice
I mean,
background.
I know you've talked about, and we should get into the traveling, because you said you might be setting up a page. But what motivates you to want to go and travel? Like you've been doing taking. I think in the last couple of years you've taken numerous trips.
Oh yeah, it's great.
What was the motivation behind that?
I'm curious, so I think that's like the biggest thing, like getting out of my own environment. And getting to explore like different landscapes and different cultures, different foods, different experiences, and yeah, just like talk to different people, whether it's from like a different country or a different area of the U.S. And I follow like a few in like. Speaking of like talking to random people from different areas, I follow this guy, Peter Santinelli.
Okay.
I think that's his last name. And he has a YouTube channel on exploring the world, and he'll go to random sections of like the US or Europe or whatever. And I don't know how he does it, but he finds locals to talk to before he goes.
Okay.
And then sometimes he'll meet like a random local somewhere. But the most recent one was he went down to like the Bayou area.
Okay.
Like, where people have like this like negative stigma of like how people are down there.
Like Louisiana?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Near like New Orleans. The most recent, so he usually does it via car, obviously in the U.S., and he went from Erath, Louisiana, to a town called Cutoff.
Okay.
Such interesting names, but yeah, he found a local in each spot. They showed him around the town, and there's some like really smart people in those areas, and they're like really cool places to live, but a lot of people, they're like, I wouldn't live down there. But he gets like the perspective, the history of the place. So that kind of intrigues me and like makes me want to go out and like travel and see these places too.
Yeah, so it's funny you bring up Louisiana because Marcus Hay, I went on his podcast the other day. He's I forget what town, but he's in Louisiana, big LSU guy, all that stuff. Yeah. And he does the World Elite podcast. And it's funny, and I've had him on the show like virtually, and I said, all right, we're heading to the Bayou and all that stuff. But it's funny because, yeah, Louisiana, New Hampshire's so different, but just a side topic, the bond of like wrestling, pro wrestling is like very like brings us together,
Oh, that's awesome.
So
is it big down there, pro wrestling?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Him and this Dylan, I forget Dylan's last name, but I just connected with them on Facebook. Like I've never met them in person, and then I've had them on my show. I've gone on their show, and it's crazy how the internet does bring people together. At times. So, what are some places you have been to, and what's like your most recent trip?
My most recent trip was New Orleans, actually.
Oh, really?
Louisiana.
Okay, I've been there one time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was for Mardi Gras.
How was that?
I feel like I'd have to go another time to experience New Orleans from a different lens, because, yeah, if you've ever seen pictures of Mardi Gras, videos, been, you know how crazy it is. That was an experience I've never had before. so many people in the French Quarter. You during those days of Mardi Gras, you can't even move on the sidewalk.
What's the street there?
Bourbon.
Bourbon, yeah.
You can't anywhere in the French Quarter because the parade goes through, so you can't walk on the streets. That's all roped off, and then you have thousands of people, and sometimes like you just end up getting stuck. You can't move. And I'm like, I didn't realize it was going to be this packed.
The culture is very different too. Like when I went, now I'm in recovery. I don't drink anymore. But when I did go, everywhere you went, there was a stand for alcohol, and it was all in travel cups.
Yeah, you can travel with it. You can walk around like open carry.
It was very like bizarre. Like you're in the mall and they're like just making these drinks and people are just walking around like we do with coffee, and I was like, what is going on? This is like, it's strange. you know?
Yeah.
One of our taxi drivers at the time even said, yeah, you can drink and drive as long as you're below the limit. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I heard that too.
Now what's some of your, like, what's been your favorite place you've been?
That's really hard because I've been to so many good places. You know what I really like? I like Switzerland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool place. I like how you can get around via train everywhere, every like nook and cranny of the country. You can like get there via train for the most part.
How many countries have you been to?
Maybe like 7 or 8.
Oh wow, okay.
I think. Yeah, I've been to the UK or England, Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, Czech Republic.
Oh wow, okay.
France. I don't know.
How do you like? How are you with flying? I'm not the biggest fan myself.
Lately, I'm okay with it. It's just, yeah, like in the news lately, it's been a little bit more nerve-wracking to get on a plane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've flown so much that it's kind of like, yeah, I'll be
second
fine.
nature. Almost. Yeah.
So.
Now I get asked. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. You did Route 66.
Yep.
What are some of the difficult parts of like these long drives, and how is the driving, and do you split it up? Like, what's it like to just be on the road knowing you're gonna be on the road for like a lengthy period of time?
Whenever I travel somewhere, I get really excited about it. So it doesn't even like cross my mind like, oh, this is going to be such a dreadful drive, or like, oh, it's going to be such a pain to drive like 7-8 hours today. Because there's just, I mean, with the road trip that I did, the Route 66 one, that there's so much to see. So you're stopping every like couple hours.
Okay.
And seeing something different. So the excitement to get to like the next thing, I just didn't even really think about the drive very much. Yeah. Whereas like if you're driving somewhere on a regular basis, like if you're commuting or you're doing something like that, then yeah, sure. Or if you're just doing a 6-hour drive from point A to point B, no stops, just kind of, then yeah.
No, it's good.
That would not be fun. But
how long was that trip? How long was the drive?
It was around 3 weeks.
Oh, just on the road?
Yeah, 2.5.
Now, are you staying in hotels? You staying in B&Bs or?
Yeah, just like hotels all the way down.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
What was the coolest thing you saw on that trip?
New Mexico had some cool stuff. They have a lot of history.
Any UFOs or anything? Or?
No. I wanted to make it to Roswell, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Because that's the history. But that was like a little bit too far.
Okay.
But in New Mexico, there's this place called the White Sands National Park. And that was like really, really cool. So a lot of people, I think that's on their bucket list in New Mexico to go to. So that was really cool.
When was that created?
It was created, I want to say it was after the war. I think Eisenhower had a big part to play in creating that.
Yeah, because after World War II, that's when the highways started to really get built, I'm assuming. Like, if I recall, I've been out of college for a while.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, I guess Route 66 was built before that, but they really started to make those routes out west after the war. Because I think Eisenhower was... after he saw like the Autobahn and things of that nature, like out in Europe, he wanted like the same thing. He wanted an interstate system in the U.S.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You know.
Interstate 40 is like runs parallel to Route 66 now.
Okay.
So Interstate 40 is the interstate, it's the highway, and then there's parts of Route 66 you can get on, and then you kind of have to get off back on Interstate 40 and then kind of go on and off. And you can see parts of Route 66, like the tarmac, with like grass growing up from it. And I don't know, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But you stop at like all these like old school gas stations and some of these really cool towns that are like still like stuck in time a little bit, you know, which is like my goal. It's like kind of what I wanted to see. Like the motels were really cool along Route 66. There's a strip of them in like Tucumcari, and I think it's called the Blue Swallow, if I remember correctly. That's one of the ones that's still standing. And they used to have like a little like garage for your car.
Oh, wow.
So you would have like where you're staying and then like a little spot to put your car.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I'd say like my favorite state for that would be, once I got out west, there's a lot of cool things.
How are the people out there on Route 66?
You know, we did it so quickly because it's tough to do it, like take off so much time to like really do it like slowly. Yeah. So I wish we had more time to like engage with people, but we didn't really have like too much time. And it was, we went off Route 66. Okay. So like there's some parts where it was like close enough where it's like, oh, we gotta go here. Like Four Corners, Mesa Verde, we hit. That's like not on the route, but close. Yeah, the White Sands. Santa Fe is actually on the route. I was just kind of thinking about the route. Gallup, New Mexico is a really cool place.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. That's a big spot where they, obviously a lot of reservations around that area. And during the war, they took like the Native Americans from like Gallup as like transcribers. Like, so they would speak in code during the war. And that was like out of like Gallup, New Mexico. Like,
so did you end up on any of the reservations? Like, you can't just go on there, I'm assuming.
No. Yeah. It's, you never really know like how they're gonna like confront you on a reservation. It might be fine, like, but also just like respecting their reservation and not just, I can't imagine like just a bunch of people going on like,
like,
oh,
hey,
like
how
look
you
at it. I
doing?
just want to check this place out.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of tourists, like when they're trying to like live there, and some of them might be like struggling. So yeah, Albuquerque, like there's like a Pueblo museum in Albuquerque that was really cool. That went over a lot of cool history there.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been near a reservation or anything like that. I don't know
Yeah.
if we have any in New England.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Do we? I don't know.
No, they're mostly like out west. Like I think it kind of starts around the Midwest, like Oklahoma
Yep.
has them because of the history there, with like the Trail of Tears and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That was like where they ended up, and then all like west, like from Montana to Arizona to Colorado to New Mexico to Utah, like they all have reservations. Like the San Juan Mountains in like Colorado. Went on like a trip there to Telluride, like a ski trip, and that was really cool. And that's like in that corner. That's like where those like cliff dwellings are, like Mesa Verde.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. And yeah, a lot of reservations over there in the Four Corners area.
Yeah, it's got. I can't imagine what they're like there or anything like that. It's got to be kind of fascinating to be in that area.
Yeah. It is really cool. Yeah, I feel like you would need to like know someone or know like a guide to be able to get on and actually like speak with someone from like a reservation.
Yeah, it's fascinating
Yeah.
that they're still here. You know what I mean? Like that's really cool.
Yeah.
What's the next trip?
Oh, the next trip's actually Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah. That one is like I'm saying, like urban exploration. Like I'm into checking out different cities in the U.S. So I've been kind of like on a kick doing that. So never been to the state of Michigan actually. So I've always wanted to do that.
You're gonna see 8 Mile.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got to be careful because like there are like no-go zones in Detroit still.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. And that's like right around 6 and 7 Mile,
Okay.
that area.
I don't know much about Detroit, like other than like the sports teams and 8 Mile, but we did have Dan Tanaka on here. He's a wrestling referee.
Yeah.
He was living in that area, and he was still doing his pro wrestling job. And there he goes, oh, it was a little different there.
Yeah.
So, I want to get to, you had a fan question, so I want to ask this from Bobby Guerin,
Oh,
friend
yeah.
of the show.
Yeah.
You go way back with Bobby?
Yeah. We'll have to get together soon. Do you like, how do you?
I've known Bobby for like 10 years through softball, flag football. He helps out with the Turkey Bowl every year that we do. So yeah, I've known Bobby.
I'd love to get back together with him at some point. That'd be cool.
So he says, OG homie.
Yeah.
What is Nick's favorite soccer team he played on growing up?
New Hampshire Stars, for sure.
Now, what is that? Is that a traveling team?
Yeah. That was a team out of Peterborough, New Hampshire, or Dublin,
Yeah.
that area. So, like Sully, he owns the Sully Soccer. I don't know if it's still open in Manchester, but I believe that's like it's in that same plaza across from like Snowboard Jones, if you know where that is, like
Elm Street?
across from like the mall in New Hampshire.
Oh,
there's
okay.
a little plaza in there.
Yep.
So that's where his shop is, and he used to have 2, but yeah, he was the owner of that club.
So did you have to drive to Peterborough to like practice and everything?
I drove a lot, like in my youth, playing soccer. Now that I realize like how much driving, I'm like, wow, my parents like did
Well,
that.
you played at a college level too, right?
Yep.
Now, how did that pan out? Like, what division was that? How'd you get recruited?
I got recruited by Marco Kuhlman, who was like a local coach in like the New England area. I think he was of like Dutch descent, came over here, and he did a lot of different coaching jobs throughout his career. He coached at like, I want to say it was like BC. He coached at for a bit, Holy Cross, Franklin Pierce, and he brought Franklin Pierce to a national title in 2007. And I came in like kind of right after that. So I saw like some of that group in 2007 that like won the title, but that was like 3 years after. So they were kind of like phasing out. He was like bringing new players in. And then he ended up moving on. Like he recruited me, then he ended up moving on, but I stayed, and then the new coach was Craig Stewart.
Okay.
And yeah, that was a great experience.
Yeah, what was your favorite part of like playing college soccer?
I don't know. I just think like the camaraderie like with the team and just playing the sport that I grew up and loved playing, and like being around people that's also what they did. Like soccer was like a huge part of their life. So it's nice to be obviously around people that enjoy the same thing as you. And just like that team, like family atmosphere. And on top of that, like being successful with like a group of guys.
Yeah, like what's that like balancing, I played club rugby in college, which, we did practice every day, but like it was club. Like what's it like being, on a college soccer team and getting your schoolwork done and all the other things you get to do in college?
It's hard. Yeah. Because like you don't really, like after everything's done, you're hanging out with the soccer team. You might have friends outside the soccer team. It's college, you're going out, you want to have fun too. You have to do your schoolwork, and then the practices and the travel.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, sometimes you'd have to obviously, like, bring your work on the bus, and, like, when you were going to an away, I feel like that was the biggest issue was, like, or the biggest challenge was, like, the away games. Going to all those and having to bring your work and actually focus on like doing some of it on some of those longer trips. But
I can imagine, that's a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't that part wasn't fun.
Do you still play soccer at all?
No, not anymore.
No?
I haven't touched a soccer ball in a long time. I played like in leagues here and there, like after, but then I just kind of stopped.
Kind of phased out.
Yeah.
Do you follow? Do you have like a favorite team? Do you follow it at all?
Yeah, Arsenal.
Okay.
Yeah, they're an English Premier League team. I've followed them for a long time, ever since I was like little. I could tell you more about the team, the history versus like how they are now.
Yeah.
It's
kind of how I'm with the Red Sox.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of like the players and everything, I could tell you, back in like the Thierry Henry days, he was like the star striker for Arsenal and the star striker for the French national team. That team was like really good. I forget what year it was, but they were like the untouchables, so they didn't lose a game.
Oh, wow.
And I think like 2 seasons in a row, I forget what time period that was, but that's when they were like really at the height of that club. That might have been like 10, 15 years ago, maybe even more than that. But they're actually doing well right now. They're, I think, in second place in the Premier League.
Okay.
And they just got knocked out of the Champions League.
I don't even know how that works. They're in 2 different leagues, like.
Yeah, there's a lot of different like leagues over in Europe.
Yeah.
So like the Champions League takes the best teams from all the top leagues in those like prospective countries. So, the Portuguese League One, La Liga, which is the Spanish league, the Bundesliga, which is like the best German league, English Premier League, French League One. So like all those leagues, I think there's a few others in there. The top like 4 teams in those leagues go to like the Champions League, and then there's a winner.
That's so much to follow.
Out of that, yeah, because they like kind of stack up all like the leagues in all the different teams.
Yeah.
And then obviously they have their own league, which like winning the Premier League is like a big deal. Like that's debatably the hardest league in Europe, but could go to like the Spanish league or the German league, depending on the year, or the Italian league. I didn't even bring up.
Yeah, there's just a lot with soccer that it goes over my head. Honestly.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about some top 5s. Now you've got to see a lot of states.
Yeah.
What are your top 5 states?
That's a good question. So are we excluding like New England states?
If you want, yeah, you can do that.
Because it's hard because like that could take up like a good portion of those 5.
Yeah.
But if I like, obviously we both love New Hampshire, so but I can like take that one out. And Maine, I love the coastline of Maine and stuff like that. I love going to the Cape, like going down to the Cape Cod as a kid. And I love like the history of like Boston. So you could throw Massachusetts in there too, but if I were to take that out, I think I would go with not in any like particular order, but like North Carolina, because I used to go down to like the Outer Banks for like vacations.
North Carolina is amazing.
I love the Outer Banks. I haven't really been to like the inner part of the state, but I'm sure that's great too.
So I was staying in Greensboro for like 3 months. A lot of murders in that city. You would see posters everywhere about another unsolved, and I was like, where am I? But
they have the Research Triangle down there, right? That's North Carolina.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's like Raleigh and Durham and like
Raleigh's
all
really
those.
nice,
Yeah. All those like big universities down there. So I think like that's like a happening like affluent area in like the Carolinas. I haven't been to South Carolina, and that's like on my like travel list. I have like obviously still a big list.
Yeah.
But Charleston, South Carolina would be on that, like Hilton Head area, and then like Savannah, Georgia too. It's kind of all in that area. But yeah, so North Carolina. I do love Chicago, the city of Chicago. So I think I'd put in Illinois in that list. And then a place that I liked a state that I liked in the mountains was Montana.
Oh, really?
So maybe I'll throw that one in there.
Don't hear Montana often when people.
yeah. Like I want to, like the western part of Montana is like really beautiful. And then the eastern part's like flat. But like Bozeman's like taken off, and like a lot of like Californians and like other wealthier people have like moved into like Bozeman. And it's, I think it's big in like fly fishing, stuff like that. Obviously like big into skiing over there. And the Yellowstone is right there. And so like Bozeman's at like the north entrance of like I think, is it Yellowstone?
Where's the national park?
Yeah, in Wyoming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the north entrance. So yeah.
All right.
because like, yeah, I mean, obviously it takes up a lot of people go to like Jackson, Wyoming to do like the Grand Tetons and Yellowstone National Park. But you can access it on the north in Montana. But yeah, anyways, like I've been to like Whitefish, Montana, which is on the border of Canada.
Okay, yeah.
So like the Rockies kind of cut up and then they go through Canada. So they'll go into like the Canadian Rockies. And that was one of my most recent trips too, actually. It was New Orleans and Banff. Banff wasn't that far away, and that was cool.
Yeah.
That's like in the heart of the Canadian Rockies.
Oh, okay.
And that's a really cool place. So that's 3, right? So Oregon.
Okay.
Did like a road trip there last summer. Started in Washington and then cut down into Astoria. It started in Astoria. It's kind of like the tip. And there's like a lot of films, like a lot of like famous movies that were filmed in Astoria, Oregon, and then they have like a film trail.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Because I don't hear much about Oregon ever.
It's
honestly.
like a hidden gem.
Yeah.
I love that coastline and everything.
Yeah.
And I think there's like a reason as to like why when people migrated west, they went up to like Seattle or they went down towards San Francisco for like the gold rush, like the 49ers, like, and they went over like Donner Pass.
Yeah.
If you know
I'm
the
not
history
No.
of like that's more of like a dark history, but like that goes like through the Sierras, like past like Lake Tahoe, and they're like the cannibals that like ate each other because they got stuck in like a storm.
Yes.
That's like, but yeah, that kind of goes right into like Sacramento, San Francisco Bay Area. So migration there, migration like just north, and then not a lot of migration right in that section of Oregon, because the eastern part of Oregon's like all high desert, so conditions aren't great to like kind of come across there. But the Columbia River shoots out between Oregon and Washington, so that's like where Lewis and Clark ended their journey.
Oh, okay.
Was like in that area.
Which is how you get all this expansion and all that.
Yeah, that was like, I think Thomas Jefferson was like who?
Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah, and they I think he had them.
He said, "We don't know what we just bought."
Yeah.
I think basically, and said, "Go figure it out."
Yeah. Yep. So that's really cool. But the film history of that state, the Goonies were filmed there.
Love that movie.
Yeah. So got to check out like the Goonies house. There's like, you can walk to it.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's really cool. And then there's a few other ones. I forget the names of them, but like there's a museum there. Didn't get to go in, but yeah, that was a really cool place. And then just all the way down the state of Oregon along the coast was really, really cool.
No, that's fascinating because you don't hear a lot about Oregon or Montana at all. Do you have a fifth?
Oh yeah, fifth. Maybe I would just go with like Washington State.
Okay.
Because it's so beautiful.
No, those are good ones because I don't think I know a lot of people that have been to those states, to be honest. They don't come up on a lot of lists. A little short on time. I want to do a little bit of buy or sell here. I know you mentioned soccer. Do you buy or sell MLS or the New England Revolution? Is that something you would be into?
Yeah, I would say one of my friends like still goes to some of the games. So like when he invites me, like I'll definitely go with him and hang out and like watch a game. and they had like a really good, I think it was a Canadian player that was on loan for the Revolution. I forget his name. I'm not really good with like the Revolution players because I don't follow it, but yeah, he was really good, and so that game that I went to see, he was a winger, and like it was entertaining to watch. I think it's growing in New England. I think more and more people are becoming Revolution fans, and they were thinking about moving the stadium.
That's what the rumor is,
of Boston, which I don't know how well that would go. Obviously, that would be great for me. It's a lot quicker of a ride, but
yeah, a lot of people in the Free Jacks community mention that because they're like, will the team move eventually? Because they're in Quincy right now, which I love.
Yeah, Quincy's a cool place.
Yeah, in the stadium, they're gonna outgrow it because they're getting close to selling that out. But they have a lease there for like another decade, so I don't know if they're gonna. If the Revolution would move, they would too.
Yeah.
I want to ask one more. I got to ask this because our team at work talks about this singer a lot. She gave a ringing endorsement of Let Freedom Ring. If you've been on the Let Freedom Ring socials.
Yeah.
But Taylor Swift, buy or sell?
Oh God, that's a hot topic. To be honest, like I just don't even have like an opinion.
No.
I'd say sell.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Not a Swiftie.
I don't mind her music. Like I'm not really like I'm not buying into it, but I'm not saying that I don't like her music.
Kind of indifferent.
Yeah, I'm kind of indifferent. Like, yeah.
All right.
Like I listened to some of her old like country, and I thought it was like pretty good. But yeah, I don't like listen to her music. So, and like the people that are spending so much money on these concerts, whether it is like Taylor Swift, and I know it's not her charging that money, but even some of the other concerts, like I wanted to go to like a Morgan Wallen concert up in the Bank Pavilion, Guilford, great venue, and tickets resale ended up being like $600, $700, $800, and I was like, I really wanted to see him, but I'm like, I
can't justify.
I'm not gonna pay that for a couple hours.
All right, well, we're a little short on time, Nick, but I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody out there, have a great week. Hopefully the Patriots make some good moves in the draft. That's what I'm hoping. But until next time, let freedom ring.